These services are called ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are the benefits that people obtain from ecosystems. On the following slides, we will talk a little bit more about these ecosystem services that we obtain from our ecosystem. Basically, there are 4 types of ecosystem services, as you can see here on this slide. The first group are so-called provisioning ecosystem services. Provisioning ecosystem services are the goods or products produced by ecosystems. The second group are the so-called regulating ecosystem services. Those are the natural processes regulated by ecosystems. The third group are the so-called cultural ecosystem services. Cultural ecosystem services are intangible benefits obtained from ecosystems. And last but not least, we have the so-called supporting ecosystem services, which are functions that maintain all other services. Supporting ecosystem services do not directly contribute to our well-being, but they are necessary in order to maintain the first 3 groups of ecosystem services. Let's look at the first group, provisioning ecosystem services. Provisioning ecosystem services are goods produced or provided by ecosystems. Maybe you remember our lecture on concepts of development when we were talking about goods and services. But these types of goods are produced by ecosystems. They are produced by nature, not by us. We as humans produce things like cars, we are building factories and streets, but nature also produces many different products, many different goods that we can use and that contribute to our well-being. First one is obviously food. We can find food in nature that we eat, and obviously that's a very basic thing that everybody needs. Also fresh water, raw materials like wood, for example, wood that we can use in order to build houses or that we can use in order to produce paper. Something more abstract are genetic resources. We also have medicinal or biochemical resources, so we use certain plants as medicine, natural medicine. Ornamental resources can be flowers that we are bringing to the temple in order to worship. And the last example is energy. Energy is produced by nature, at least certain types of energy, like for example solar energy. We don't need to do anything to produce this type of energy. Solar energy is always there. So those kinds of goods are produced by nature and they contribute to our well-being because we can use them and we can consume them. Regulating ecosystem services are the natural processes regulated by ecosystems, which can also, in many cases, contribute to our well-being. And there are many different examples for that. Take, for example, climate regulation. You know that today we have a big problem globally, and that is climate change. The temperature is rising globally, and the weather is changing because of that increasing temperature. We have more extreme weather events, we have more floods, we have more droughts. The weather seems to change, and most often it has negative effects on us. However, nature can help us in that regard because certain types of landscapes can contribute to the storage of carbon. If we can store a lot of carbon in our landscapes, less carbon dioxide will be in our atmosphere, and because of that there will be less climate change. Why is carbon stored in landscapes? That can be, for example, in forests, because forests, trees, are a natural storage of carbon. Another example is water purification. You know that water moves through our ecosystem. It flows through rivers, it flows also through wetland areas and forests. It flows through the soil. And when flowing through our ecosystem, dangerous pollutants are processed and filtered out of the water. Pollutants can be metals, it can be viruses, oils, excess nutrients and sediment. And when water flows through our ecosystem, those pollutants can be filtered out of the water. This purification process is very important for us because it provides us with clean drinking water and also water suitable for industrial use, for recreational use. We want to have clean water in a river sometimes because we want to go swimming, and also for wildlife. So thereby, water purification as a regulating ecosystem services contributes to our well-being. Cultural ecosystem services refer to the cultural and social benefits that we obtain from ecosystems. For example, our ecosystem provides us with beautiful landscapes, and we enjoy being in beautiful landscapes. When we are away from work, in our holidays, or when we are during the weekend, then we like to go to nature, for example, to a beautiful beach in order to go swimming, or to a national park. That helps us to relax and to have a good time of recreation. So thereby it makes us happy and it makes us also more healthy. So it increases our well-being. Beautiful places or nature in general can also be an inspiration for culture, art and design. And it can give us information for cognitive development. We can study complex forms and relationships that exist in ecosystems, and we can use this information to improve and design technology. Supporting ecosystems, as I said before, do not directly contribute to our well-being, but they maintain all other services. Supporting ecosystems are things like nutrient cycling, primary production, photosynthesis, water cycling, and the maintenance of biodiversity. Biodiversity, by the way, is the diversity of all life on our planet. And without these supporting ecosystem services, our ecosystem would not be able to produce goods that we need for our well-being. It would not be able to regulate natural processes that improve our well-being, and it would also not be able to provide us with a cultural ecosystem services. So you've seen that all of these different types of ecosystem services, which belong to the group of natural capital, contribute to our well-being. The same way as built capital, human capital and social capital contributes to our well-being. But in many times, in many situations, we need to combine these different types of capital. We need to combine natural, built, human and social capital in order to make them contribute to our well-being. An example is that fish, which is a natural capital because it's produced by nature itself, needs to combine with fishing boats. This is a type of built capital because boats is something that we build in a factory. Fishermen, which is a type of human capital, because fishermen are people skilled and trained in catching fish. And fishing communities, which is a type of social capital, because fishing communities are networks of people who effectively work together in order to catch fish, in order to generate food. So we need fish, fishing boats, fishermen and fishing communities, 4 different types of capital to generate food, which we need